ladies and gentlemen. Kristine Simpson here with Young PR Pros, and I'm very excited to be sitting here with Alexandra Samuel. Welcome.
Thanks so much.
So today, you talked a lot about analytics. It was very interesting, but you also talked about this invisible audience. Could you, in about 20 seconds or 30 seconds, explain to us what is the invisible audience?
The invisible audience is the 70% of people that you reach on social media. These are people who are on Twitter and on Facebook every week, and in many cases every day or even several times a day, but posting very little or not at all.
So, will this change? This invisible audience, is it going to change with the new generation?
That's a terrific question. And one of the things that's nice about the way we do our research is that we're actually going to be able to track this audience over time and see whether their participation rates and the rate at which they post increases. There certainly are some generational effects in the data, but it's not as significant as you might think. I mean, there are lots of people in their 30s and 40s who are sharers, and there are lots of people in their 20s who are lurkers.
Okay, interesting. Now, what happens often when young professionals walk into a new organization, especially an organization that doesn't quite know how to use social media yet, often the young professional is handed the Twitter account and they're told, go, do it, tweet for me kind of thing, because you're young and you know how to tweet. How does the whole invisible audience, how can it help and how can it impede a young professional who's in a position who's trying to communicate with very little data?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, it's one of the things that really drives me crazy about the social media field is that so many young people are handed social media and said, you know, and told to go. And on the one hand, it's really awesome because it's this area where there is truly a generational gap in competency. And there certainly are a lot of young people. I mean, we hired somebody in our at Vision Critical just recently to manage our social media accounts who was it was just like, he's so brilliant and, you know, young guy, and he's extremely experienced. And, you know, I always say to people, like, the part of what's great about hiring young people in social media is, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're hiring a 25-year-old or a 50-year-old, nobody's going to have more than 5 years of experience in social media. Yeah. So, and on the one hand, that's terrific to have all those opportunities, and on the other hand, you know, what a lot of young people in social don't get is the mentorship in some of the fundamentals of communications and PR about how you craft a message and how to understand an audience. And, you know, this is a really good case in point. It really comes back to the basics of good PR practice, which is about knowing your audience. And, you know, I think sometimes when people give social to the youngest person in the office, it's partly because they think, oh, well, you know, social media is just about young people anyhow, so we might as well give it to a young person because that's who's gonna, you know, understand them. And it's true that, you know, the sharer audience does skew a little bit young, not as dramatically young as people sometimes assume. So there's certainly, you know, some connection there. But the problem is that you also need to be reaching people in other demographics and at other stages. And so you need to do your homework and find out who else is out there who you're trying to reach, and understand that they're not all going to be excited about the same stuff that, you know, the 24-year-old sharers are interested in. You need stuff for the 45-year-old sharers, and you need stuff for the 52-year-old lurkers. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that the podcast Young PR Pros is trying to do while we're here at the conference is sometimes we feel that there's still a little bit of a negative stereotype that hangs above the heads of PR practitioners. Would you have any suggestions or tips for young professionals entering the workforce on how they can avoid the negative stereotype or how they can contribute to a better industry tomorrow?
Well, I think social actually is in a really interesting position for PR people to triangulate their position within the organization, because what's going to happen is you're going to have, I am here to make a prediction. What's going to happen with this field is that you're going to have a whole bunch of people in their early to mid-20s who come into PR by way of social. The fact that they're perceived as having an expertise and a fluency, which, you know, is based in some reality there, is going to give them this opportunity to come into PR as the social media person. What has already happened in the 7 or 8 years I've been working in what you would now call social is that it has migrated from being a niche to being increasingly like, this is marketing, this is communication. So you're going to have people who start out as being the PR person or the social media PR person who then just become the social media person or the communications person. So their expertise is going to broaden, because as social becomes a bigger part of overall integrated marketing and communications, their expertise is going to be recognized there. And then it's going to spread beyond that into other parts of the organization. I mean, social is really, particularly as the social media analytics piece becomes part of big data and survey data and community data, the kind of work we do, and businesses move towards being data-driven decision-making organizations. The PR people within those organizations who have social media analytics expertise are increasingly going to be pulled into that decision-making scenario, where their expertise on understanding what's happening in social becomes part of what drives the organization. And also, I mean, it's the same things happening internally around HR, internal engagement, employee culture. People who understand how to engage an audience online are as necessary inside an organization in animating an organization as they are in reaching an audience. So I think there's a real opportunity for people. I don't know if it affects the stigma of PR per se, as much as it is that it's going to break down the silos that make social media PR a little thing over here, and instead turn that into a really excellent entry point for a wide range of opportunities in business and organizational development.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you.